All right, it's on the webpage.
Now it is?
Yeah, hey there.
When I tweeted or whatever, I didn't put my name in, so I wrote what I wanted to say as my name.
Oh, that's okay.
And then so it's like one thing.
All right. Yeah, you need to type your name first when you tweet, then you hit join, then you say it. And today, most of you are going to find out who your character name is. All right? Ooh, did that just stop recording? No, you're still alive. Good. All right, we're on chapter 9. Yesterday we ended with the 4 o'clock warning that at 4 o'clock everybody's going to get on the boat. We just met Long John Silver, and he hobbles away after admitting that he let Black Dog get away. They tried to catch him and they couldn't catch him. Many of you tweeted that Dr. Livesey likes Long John Silver. That's true. So does Squire Trelawney. Today we're going to see what they think of the rest of the crew. It says, the Hispaniola lay some way out, and we went under the figureheads and round the sterns of many other ships, and their cables sometimes grated underneath our keel, and sometimes swung above us. At last, however, we got alongside, and were met and saluted as we stepped aboard by the mate, Mr. Arrow, a brown old sailor, with earrings in his ears and a squint. And he and the squire were very thick and friendly, but I soon observed that things were not the same between Mr. Trelawney and the captain. So, Arrow and Squire Trelawney,
They're like besties.
they're like besties. They're like, hey man, what's up? Good to see you. They like them. They like each other. And then, not so true. Who's my squires? All right, now captains, raise your hand. Squires and captains, Katie, that's you. Squires and captains, you don't like each other. All right? Squires and captains, you don't like each other. This last, oh, there's another one of those. This last, who was the last person he mentioned? The captain. This last was a sharp-looking man who seemed angry with everything on board and was soon to tell us why, for we had hardly got down into the cabin when a sailor followed us. Captain Smart, sir. Captain, speak with you, said he. Oh, wrong one. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be Captain Smollett. I apologize.
Captain Smollett, sir. Asking to speak with you,
said he. I'm always at the captain's orders. Show him in, said the squire. The captain, who was close behind his messenger, oh, I was right, it wasn't Captain Smollett, right behind his messenger, entered at once and shut the door behind him. Well, Captain Smollett, what have you to say? All well, I hope, all shipshape and seaworthy.
Well, sir,
said the captain.
better speak plain. I better speak plain, I believe, even at the risk of offense. I don't like this cruise. I don't like the men, and I don't like my officer. That's short and sweet.
Uh-oh. The captain's not happy. I don't like what we're doing. I don't like the guys. And I don't like my first mate, Arrow. Oh, who really likes the first mate, Arrow? And who's the captain talking to right now? Trelawney. Like, hey, I hate your best friend. I hate your bestie. All right? Perhaps, sir, you don't like the ship, inquired the squire, very angry as is there something you don't like, man? I mean, you probably hate the ship, too. Oh, do you not like what I'm wearing today? Come on, can you find something?
I can't speak to that, sir, not having seen or tried her. She seems a clever craft. More I can't say. It's like,
Of course, I haven't been able to criticize it. I'm sure once we start to fly this thing, I'm going to hate it too. But I won't say it. It seems all right. Possibly, sir, you may not like your employer either, says the squire. Who's his employer? No, Squire Trelawney's in charge. Says like, oh, you don't like me either, do you? We got a little cat fight going here. Oh, you don't like this, you don't like that. Oh, you not like your boss? You need a new job? But Dr. Livesey cut in here, because Mr. Squire Big Mouth can't shut up. Stay a bit, said he. Stay a bit. No use of such questions as that to but produce ill feeling. Like, you're just gonna get each other all upset. Don't ask that question. The captain has had too much, or has either said too much, or he has said too little. And I'm bound to say that I require an explanation for his words. You don't, you say, like the cruise. Now, why?
I was engaged, sir, on what we called sealed orders to sell this ship for that gentleman where he should bid me, said the captain.
It's like, hey, I wasn't told where we're going. I was told I'm going to sell this ship and go wherever Squire Trelawney tells me to go. I was okay with that.
So far, so good. But now I find that every man before the mast knows more than I do. I don't call that fair now, do you?
Everybody else knows we're going to do something else. How come they all know and I don't know? No, I don't call that fair.
Next, I learned we were going after treasure. Hear it from my own hands, mind you. Not treasure is a ticklish word. I don't like treasure voyages on any account. And I don't like them above all when they are secret. And when, begging your pardon, Mr. Trelawney, the secret has been told to the parrot.
Silver's parrot? It's like, even the parrot knows on the shoulder of Long John Silver that we're going for treasure, and I don't. You think that's not going to upset me? No, you can't tweet as the parrot.
Oh, dang it. Can I add that?
For treasure? It's a way of speaking, said the captain. Blabbled, I mean. It's my belief neither of you gentlemen know what you are about. But I'll tell you my way of it, life or death, and a close run.
That is clear, and I dare say true enough, replied Dr. Livesey. We take the risk, but we are not so ignorant as you believe us. Next you say you don't like the crew. Are they not good seamen?
I don't like them, sir, returned Captain Smollett. And I think I should have had the choosing of my own hands, if you go to that.
Perhaps you should, replied the doctor. My friend should perhaps have taken you along with him, but the slight, if there be one, was unintentional. So he says, I don't like these guys. What kind of crew did we get? The motley crew. He's like, I don't like these guys. We've got a retired naval officer, the best captain you can have, and a motley crew of guys. A bunch of misfits. Doesn't seem right. And they all know about the treasure, and I didn't. And then he says, and you don't like Mr. Arrow. Who's Arrow in here? All right. Captain, you don't like Arrow. All right?
I don't, sir. I believe he's a good seaman, but he's too free with the crew to be a good officer. A mate should keep himself to himself. Shouldn't drink with the men before the mast.
Do you mean he drinks?
Cried the squire. No, sir, replied the captain. Only that he's too familiar.
What does that mean? He's too familiar.
Too friendly.
Yeah, he's too friendly with the guys. Let's see here. What's the first mate? We had a description of the first mate. Wasn't there one where he's really good friends and he guards the rum?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the one, that's Arrow. The one who guards the rum, and he's too friendly with the guys. Well, now, in the short and long of it, Captain, asked the doctor, tell us what you want.
Well, gentlemen, are you determined to go on this cruise?
Like iron, answered the squire.
Very good, said the captain. Then, as you've heard me very patiently saying these things that I could not prove, hear me a few words more. They are putting the powder and arms in the forehold. Now, you have a good place under the cabin. Why not put them there? That's my first point.
They got all these guns and stuff. They're putting them in the front of the boat. You should put them in the bottom of the boat. That's my first thing I want you to do.
Then, you are bringing 4 of your own people with you, and they tell me some of them are to be berthed forward. Why not give them the berths here beside the cabin?
That's my second point. Like if you're bringing your own friends, they should be closer to you. Keep them close to you guys. Any more? Said Mr. Trelawney, obviously getting annoyed.
One more. There's been too much blabbling already.
Far too much, agreed the doctor.
I tell you what I've heard myself,
Continued Captain Smollett.
Then you have a map of an island, that there's crosses on the map to show where the treasure is, and that the island lies,
And then he named the latitude and longitude exactly. Why doesn't Robert Louis Stevenson give us that? Doesn't want us to know where the treasure is still. I never told that, cried the squire. To a soul, I never told anyone.
the hands know it, sir,
Returned the captain.
Livesey, that must have been you, or Hawkins,
Cried the squire.
It doesn't matter much who it is.
Oh, it doesn't matter much who it was, replied the doctor, and I could see that neither he nor the captain paid much regard to Mr. Trelawney's protestations. What does that mean? They're not listening to Mr. Trelawney.
They don't believe it.
Don't believe
Yeah,
it.
I know he's the blabbermouth.
What page?
Neither did I, to be sure. He was a loose talker. We're on page 39. He was a loose talker. Yet, in this case, I believe he was really right, and that nobody had told the situation of the island. Like, I don't think anybody told anybody. How does somebody know the location?
Well, gentlemen, continued the captain, I don't know who has this map, but I make it a point it shall be kept secret, even from me and Mr. Arrow. Otherwise, I would ask that you let me resign.
So, either if you're going to tell everybody, I quit. Otherwise, don't tell anybody, don't tell me, and let me just do my job. I'll get you there and I'll get you back. I see, said the doctor. You wish us to keep this matter dark and to make a garrison of the stern part of the ship, manned with my friend's own people, and provided with all of the arms and powder on board. In other words, you fear a mutiny. You think everybody's going to try and overthrow you. That's why you want us to put all the guns by us and put all of our friends nearby. You think they're going to throw us overboard.
Sir,
Said Captain Smollett.
with no intention to take offense, I deny your right to put words into my mouth. No captain, sir, would be justified in going to sea at all if he had ground enough to say that. As for Mr. Arrow, I believe him thoroughly honest. Some of the men are the same, all may be for what I know, but I am responsible for the ship's safety and the life of every man jack aboard of her. I see things going on as I think not quite right, and I ask you to take certain precautions or let me resign my berth, and that's all.
Captain Smollett, began the doctor with a smile, did ever you hear the fable of the mountain and the mouse? You'll excuse me, I dare say, but you remind me of that fable. When you came in here, I'll stake my wig, you meant more than this. You ever heard of the mountain and a molehill?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, it's a huge mountain. It's like, no, it's just a little molehill, making too much out of nothing.
Doctor,
Said the captain.
you are smart. When I came in here, I meant to get discharged. I had no thought that Mr. Trelawney would hear a word.
I figured you guys were going to fire me as soon as I complained. No more I would, cried the squire. Had Livesey not been here, I should have seen you to the deuce. As it is, I have heard you. I will do as you desire, but I think the worse of you. You're right, I was going to fire you. But since Dr. Livesey's here, I'll keep you on board.
That's as you please, said the captain. You'll find I do my duty.
And with that, he took his leave.
Trelawney, said the doctor, contrary to all my notions, I believe you have managed to get two honest men on board with you. That man and John Silver.
At least here's two good people on the boat, the captain and Long John Silver.
Silver, if you like, cried the squire. But as for that intolerable humbug, I declare I think his conduct unmanly, unsailorly, and downright un-English.
Well, says the doctor, we shall see. When we came on deck, the men had already begun to take out the arms and powder, yo-hoing at their work, while the captain and Mr. Arrow stood by, superintending. The new arrangement was quite to my liking. The whole schooner had been overhauled, 6 berths had been made astern, out of what had been the after part of the main hold. And this set of cabins was only joined to the galley and forecastle by a sparred passage on the port side. It had been originally meant for the captain, Mr. Arrow, Hunter, Joyce, the doctor, and the squire were to occupy these 6 berths. Now, Redruth and I were to get 2 of them, and Mr. Arrow and the captain were to sleep on deck in the companion, which had been enlarged on each side, so you might have almost called it a round house. All right, so he explains a little bit more about how they changed things. Go to that next paragraph where it says, we're all hard at work changing the powder in the berths, when the last man or two, and Long John along with them, came off in a shore boat. The cook came up the side like a monkey for cleverness, and as soon as he saw what he saw it was doing, he says,
"So, mates,"
says he,
"what's this?" "We're changing the powder, Jack."
answers one.
"Why bite our powers?" cried Long John. "If we do, we'll miss the morning tide." "My orders," said the captain shortly. "You may go below, my man. Hands will want supper."
Here comes Long John Silver on board. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? We're going to miss the tide. We're going to get out late. What are you guys doing?" It's like, Long John kind of oversteps his bounds a little bit here. And the captain says, "No, I'm in charge here. This is what I want to do. You go down low and start cooking, boy."
"Aye, aye, sir,"
answered the cook, and touching his forelock, he disappeared at once in the direction of his galley.
"That's a good man."
"Oh, that's a good man, Captain," said the doctor.
"Very likely, sir,"
replied Captain Smollett.
"Easy with that, man, easy."
He ran on to the fellows who were shifting the powder, and then suddenly observing me examining the swivel we carried amidship, a long brass knife.
"Here, you ship's boy,"
he cried. "Out of that! Off you go to the cook and get some work. Your job's to go help Long John Silver." And then as I was hurrying off, I heard him say quite loudly to the doctor,
"I have no favorites on my ship."
I assure you, I was quite of the squire's way of thinking, and hated the captain deeply. Who's my Jims? Jimmy Janes? You hate your captains as well.
You guys love us cooks.
And you agree with Squire Trelawney that
Well,
the captain's a
stuff
jerk
your
and he's mean, just like those teachers that are mean and make you do more stuff. All right, chapter 10, page 41. Any questions about the relationships going on board? Any questions?
So, like, everyone hates the captain?
Everybody hates the captain. And although Dr. Livesey kind of thinks he's an honest man, he's a good man. Melissa?
Gonna meet the other characters later.
Uh-huh.
Oh no. Wait, Trelawney likes who's Trelawney like?
Trelawney likes Long John Silver.
Oh.
And Arrow.
Likes us.
And Arrow.
And Arrow.
And Arrow. All that night, we were in a great bustle, getting things stowed in their place, and boatfuls of the squire's friends, Mr. Blandley and the like, coming off to wish him a good voyage and a safe return. We never had a night at the Admiral Benbow when I had half the work, and I was dog tired when, a little before dawn, the boatswain sounded his pipe, and the crew began to man the capstan bars. I might have been twice as weary, yet I would not have left the deck. All was so new and interesting to me. The brief commands, the shrill note of the whistle, the men bustling to their places in the glimmer of the ship's lanterns.
"Now, barbecue, tip us a stave," cried one voice. "The old one," cried another. "Aye, aye, mates," said Long John, who was standing by with his crutch under his arm, and at once broke out in the air in words I knew so well. 15 men on a dead man's chest.
And the whole crew bore chorus.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
And a third ho drove the bars before them at will.
Oh!
What should this be making you think of?
Billy Bones.
Billy Bones sang that song, didn't he? Every day. Huh.
Oh, maybe
Maybe he searched for that captain.
Yeah.
Who?
Billy Bones.
Long John Silver.
We know Billy Bones did.
Or he was with Long John Silver.
Oh, maybe he was
I
with Long
already
John
know.
Silver with that song. What?
When they were the captain said about someone telling him about the treasure and that,
Mm-hmm.
he could have also gotten somewhat of it from Black Dog Black Dog. Because he wanted the flint.
Black Dog had gone to go look for Flint's Fist too, right? So maybe they knew some of the latitude and longitude already. Even at this exciting moment, it carried me back to the Admiral Benbow in a second, and I seemed to hear the voice of the captain piping in the chorus. Good job, everybody, just like Jimmy Hawkins. He thought back to Billy Bones. But soon the anchor was short up. Soon it was hanging, dripping at the bows. Soon the sail began to draw, and the land and shipping to flit by on either side. And before I could lie down and snatch an hour of slumber, the Hispaniola had begun her voyage to the Isle of Treasure. I'm not going to relate that voyage in detail. It was fairly prosperous. The ship proved to be a good ship. The crew were capable seamen, and the captain thoroughly understood his business. But before we came to the length of Treasure Island, 2 or 3 things had happened which required to be known. Foreshadowing. Are we going to learn those things? Yes. Mr. Arrow, first of all, turned out even worse than the captain had feared. Where's my Mr. Arrows? Captain doesn't like it, and you were worse than he thought. He had no command among the men, and people did what they pleased with him. But that was by no means the worst of it. For after a day or two at sea, he began to appear on deck with his hazy eye, red cheeks, stuttering tongue, and other marks of drunkenness. Time after time, he was ordered below in disgrace, like, "Oh man, you are wasted. Get down below the decks." Sometimes he fell and cut himself. Sometimes he lay all day long in his little bunk at one side of the companion. Sometimes for a day or two, he would be almost sober and attend to his work at least passively. Like, "Oh man, you've got to rotate that thing. Get that thing up there to do what it's supposed to do." And not a very good seaman, you two.
Oh.
Yeah?
Pirates of the Caribbean, who was the first name?
Well, it used to be Barbossa and Captain Jack Sparrow, right? Wasn't Jack the first mate and Barbossa was the captain?
Yeah.
And then, so he would have been like Arrow, right? Right? Kind of drunk, right? Except he's actually a good captain when he needs to be. Captain Jack Sparrow kind of is. So that's a good question. In the meantime, we could never make out where he got the drink. That was the ship's mystery. Watch him as we pleased, we could do nothing to solve it. And when we asked him to his face, he would only laugh if he were drunk, and if he were sober, deny solemnly that he ever tasted anything but water. He's like, and I was like, "Hey," when he's sober, "where do you get your alcohol?" He's like, "I don't drink anything but water. I don't know what you're talking about." Liars. So, no, you can't tweet tonight with blah, 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 blah. No drunk tweeting tonight, okay? He was not only useless as an officer, but a bad influence amongst the men. But it was plain that at this rate he must soon kill himself outright. So nobody was much surprised nor very sorry when one dark night, with a head sea, he disappeared entirely and was seen no more. You're dead.
Oh. So I can't tweet tonight.
You can tweet about that tonight. You can tweet what he might have said. And on Monday, Arrows, I'll give you guys a new person to tweet as.
Oh, it'd be funny if it was screaming.
Yeah, oh, it's like going, I found the Titanic or something like that.
Oh, I called that one.
Lawson,
Do we have to tweet on the weekend?
you have to tweet before our next class period.
Did he like fall off?
Yeah,
Which would be over the
tonight, but
weekend.
we have to
He
do it.
didn't fall. He's
So
in
you
my
just have to
suit.
do 2 tweets.
We do it on the
One.
weekend?
Shh. You have to do 2 tweets. One. Skylar, you're being recorded. Is that, you want to be known for that? Okay. You have 2 tweets. One for chapter 9 and one for chapter 10. It's due before class on Monday. All right. Let's finish this up and we'll ask some more questions. Unless you're confused about something, Melissa.
Yeah, but wait, what did we say though?
I'll talk about that later. Yes.
So wait, how did Arrow die?
Arrow. They think he must have fallen off the ship, or did something else happen?
Or we put him in our suit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Of the ship's mystery, we got a little CSI Omega going on here. Ooh, mutiny might have happened.
I cooked him into a stew.
Overboard, said the captain. Well, gentlemen, that saves the trouble of putting him in irons. We were going to have to put him in jail. So, well, at least he's gone. We don't have to worry about him. But there we were, without a mate. And it was necessary, of course, to advance one of the men. The boatswain, Job Anderson, was the likeliest man aboard. And though he kept his old title, he served in a way as mate. Who's my boatswain? Job Anderson is your name. Boatswain. Who else is my boatswain? I should have 2. Am I missing somebody? We'll have to make Botson's, I'll check with this class. Botson's, your name is Job Anderson. Mr. Trelawney had followed the sea, and his knowledge made him very useful, for he had often took a watch himself in easy weather. And the coxswain, Israel Hands, who's my coxswain? There you go, your name is Israel Hands. Was a careful, wily, old, experienced seaman who could be trusted at a pinch with almost anything. He was a great confidant of Long John Silver, and so the mention of his name leads me on to speak of our ship's cook, Barbecue, as the men called him. What do you guys call Long John Silver?
Barbecue.
Barbecue. All right. And who's one of his best friends?
Me.
Israel Hands is one of Barbecue's best friends. Aboard ship, he carried his crutch by a lanyard around his neck to have both hands free as possible. It was something to see him wedge the foot of the crutch against the bulkhead and propped against it, yielding to every movement of the ship. Get on with his cooking like someone safe ashore. He's like, he would lean, he has his crutch tight around his neck, then he'd prop it up against his body, lean up against the wall on one leg, and still cook. Like, this guy is like strong, and he knows how to be on the sea. Obviously been an amazing sailor with Captain Hawk, Admiral Hawk. Still more strange was to see him in the heaviest of weather across the deck. He had a line or two rigged up to help him across the widest spaces. Long John's earrings, they were called. And he would hand himself from one place to another, now using his crutch, now trailing it alongside by the lanyard, as quickly as another man could walk. Yet some of the men who had sailed with him before expressed their pity to see him so reduced. He's so good on the boat that he set up little jungle ropes he's able to boom and grab on during a sea storm and move all the way across the deck of the ship as fast as anybody else. They're like, yeah. And can you imagine how awesome he used to be when he didn't lose his leg? Now wait a minute. How would they know that he had been reduced, or that they had sailed with him before his leg? Huh. Hey, here comes the coxswain's first word. He's no common man, Barbecue, said the coxswain to me. He had good schooling in his young days, and can speak like a book when so minded, and brave. A lion's nothing alongside of Long John. I seen him grapple four and knock their heads together, him unarmed. All the crew respected and even obeyed him. He had a way of talking to each and doing everybody some particular service. To me, he was unweariedly kind and always glad to see me in the galley, which he kept as clean as a new pin, the dishes hanging up burnished and his parrot in a cage in the corner. Come away, Hawkins, he would say. Come and have a yarn with John. Nobody more welcome than yourself, my son. Sit you down and hear the news. Here's Captain Flint. I calls my parrot Captain Flint after the famous Buccaneer. Here's Captain Flint predicting success to our voyage. Was it you, Captain? The name of his parrot is Captain Flint?
Maybe he named it after the guy.
Maybe
Captain.
He named it after the famous Buccaneer, who was...
The real captain.
The guy
And whose map do we have?
Captain
What if it was Captain Flint's bird?
What?
What if it was his Captain Flint's bird?
Or
Oh.
what if that is Captain
And the
Flint?
parrot would say with great rapidity, "Pieces of 8, pieces of 8, pieces of 8, pieces of 8," till you wondered that it was not out of breath, or till John threw his handkerchief over the cage to shut it up. Now that bird, he would say, is maybe 200 years old, Hawkins. They live forever, mostly. And if anybody's seen more wickedness, it must be the devil himself. She sailed with England, the great Captain England, the pirate. She's been at Madagascar and at Malabar and Suriname and Providence and Portobello. She was at the fishing up of the wrecked plate ships. It's there she learned pieces of 8. And little wonder, 350,000 of them, Hawkins. She was at the board of the Viceroy of the Indies out of Goa, she was. And to look at her, you would think she was a baby. But you smelt powder, didn't you, Captain? Stand by to go about. But that parrot has been everywhere. Has it been on good sailing ships? No, they were on pirate ships. Oh, she's a handsome craft, she is, the cook would say, and give her sugar from his pocket. And then the bird would peck at the bars and swear straight on, passing belief for wickedness, dropping bombs and beep, 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 beep. And it's like, whoa, that bird knows some dirty words. Again, you can't tweet like that, Mr.
That parrot that goes bleep.
Although that would be fun for those people who were Arrow to be the parrot.
Can I be a parrot?
Yes. All right, Arrows, you are now the parrot. Tweet as the parrot.
Come here.
A parrot!
But you can't cuss.
Okay. Taylor's my favorite.
All right.
Why does the one guy die?
Arrow's gone. He's gone.
So who's gonna be the first mate then?
Ah, we don't know. We don't have a first mate anymore, do we? That's a good question, Melissa. There is no more first mate. Now there's just
The parrot.
the parrot.
Parrot can be first mate.
Barbecue.
Shh. Question.
So we don't have to tweet as Arrow anymore, just parrot?
You just tweet as the parrot from here on out.
Just put
All
parrot.
right? You would be parrot. That's right. No, what's his name? Captain Flint, the parrot. Yes?
I thought the boatswain was the first name.
Yeah, but he kept his name Botsson. He's still the Botsson. All right? All right. Let's see here. Oh, she's a handsome craft, she is, the cook would say, and give her sugar from his pocket, and then the bird would peck at the bars and swear straight on, passing belief for wickedness. There, John would add, you can't touch pitch and not be mucked, lad. Like, you can't be around all these bad people and not get dirty. Right? You don't roll in the mud with a pig if you don't want to get dirty. That's basically what he's saying. Pitch is like tar. You don't touch pitch and not get dirty. That bird's, he's seen some bad things. Here this poor old innocent bird of mine, swearing blue fire, none the wiser, you may later that. She would swear the same in a manner of speaking before a chaplain. She'd do it to a pastor too, or a priest. So don't take offense, She's just heard some bad words along the way. And John would touch his forelock with a solemn way he had that made me think he was the best of men. In the meantime, Squire and Captain Smollett, still on pretty distant terms with one another. The Squire made no bones about the matter. He despised the captain. The captain, on his part, never spoke but when he was spoken to, and then sharp and short and dry, and not a word wasted. You ever met somebody who, like, hey, do you like me? I don't know. What do you think about the weather? What do you want to do tomorrow? We're on a ship. I'm going to work. Just trying to start a conversation here, man. Okay, bye.
My stepdad is like that.
Well,
like that.
you know people that they just don't, there are a few words. They don't say a whole lot.
Yes.
And so you can misinterpret them for being mean just because they don't talk very much. The captain on his own point, he owned when driven into a corner that he seemed to have been wrong about the crew, that some of them were as brisk as he wanted to see, and all had behaved fairly well. It's like, yeah, they actually are a pretty good crew. As for the ship, he had taken a downright fancy to her.
She'll lie at a point nearer the wind than a man has a right to expect of his own married wife, sir, but, he would add, all I say is we're not home again, and I don't like the cruise.
It's like, hey, this is a beautiful boat. This boat is awesome. You guys bought a great boat. But you know what? I still don't like what we're doing. The squire at this would turn away and march up and down the deck, chin in the air. A trifle more of that, man, he would say, and I should explode. If he keeps complaining about this cruise, I'm going to freak out. We had some heavy weather, which only proved the qualities of the Hispaniola. Every man on board seemed well and content, and they must have been hard to please if they had been otherwise. For it is my belief that there was never a ship's company so spoiled since Noah put to sea. Double grog was going on the least excuse. There was duff on odd days, as for instance, if the squire heard it was any man's birthday, and always a barrel of apples standing broached in the waist for anyone to help himself that had a fancy. Never knew good could come of it yet, the captain said to Dr. Lucy. Oh, spoiled forecastle hands makes devils, that's my belief. Sorry, he says, see that word? It looks like it says foxle. forecastle? That's forecastle. That's all the guys who are staying in the quarters. Who's in charge of the forecastle? The boatswain is in charge of that group, all right? And they're always giving them extra rum and extra grog. Grog is when you mix water and rum.
Get him on goose.
Right, so it's this antiseptic, the water. So he's giving them lots of water, and they're partying all the time. Woo, this is a great ship. Come on, guys, because it's been such a tough trip. Squire Trelawney's like, hey, give everybody all that they want, because we got to keep morale high. And the captain says, you're spoiling them. You spoil the crew, and then you lose control of them. You shouldn't spoil people. But good did come of the apple barrel, as you shall hear. For it had not been for that, we should have had no note of warning, and might have perished by the hand of treachery. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now that you're listening again, read that again with me. But good did come of the apple barrel, as you shall hear. For it had not been for that, we should have had no note of warning, and might all have perished by the hand of treachery. What's treachery?
Mutiny.
Yeah, if we didn't have the apple barrel, somehow we would have been killed. This was how it came about. We had run up the trades to get the wind of the island we were after. I'm not allowed to be more plain. Can't tell you where the island is. And now we were running down for it with a bright lookout day and night. It was about the last day of our outward voyage, that means on the way there, by the largest computation. Sometime that night, or at latest before noon of the morrow, we should sight Treasure Island. We were heading south-southwest and had a steady breeze, a beam, and a quiet sea. The Hispaniola rolled steadily, dipping her bowsprit now and then with a whiff spray. The bowsprit's that thing that juts out from the front of the boat. Oftentimes there's like some lady on the end of it. All was drawing alow and aloft. Everyone was in the bravest spirits, excited. We're almost at Treasure Island, because we were now so near an end of the first part of our adventure. Now, just after sundown, when all my work was over, and I was on my way to my berth, it occurred to me that I should like an apple. I ran on deck. The watch was all forward, looking out for the island. The man at the helm was watching the luff of the sail and whistling away gently to himself. And that was the only sound except the swish of the sea against the bows and around the ship. So here comes Jim. He's out on the deck. He wants to get an apple. He's like, I'm hungry. And he noticed there's a guy just... Everybody else is looking. I want to be the first one to see the island. Now, just after sundown, when all my work was over, I was on my way to berth. Oh, wait. Okay, sorry, the next paragraph, I went back. In I got bodily into the apple barrel. The apple barrel is more like a toy chest. It's this huge, huge bin, about this wide here. It's easier to store. It's like a giant crate of apples, and it's getting kind of low. So he's like, oh, I'm going to climb in here and look for the best kind of apple. There was scarce an apple left, but sitting down there in the dark with the sound of the waters and the rocking movement of the ship, I had either fallen asleep or was on the point of doing so, when a heavy man sat down with rather a clash close by. The barrel shook as he leaned his shoulders against it, and I was just about to jump when the man began to speak. It was Silver's voice. So this guy sits down right next to the apple barrel. It was Silver's voice, and before I had heard a dozen words, I would not have shown myself for all the world, but lay there, trembling and listening, in the extreme fear and curiosity. For from these dozen words I understood that the lives of all the honest men aboard depended upon me alone.
Was that the parrot talking? Like Silver the parrot?
This is Long John Silver, with the parrot on his shoulder, and he's talking to somebody else. So, tweeting tonight or this weekend. Try and get those points.
I don't know
What are some things you might tweet? Yeah.
I can't wait till the island.
Yeah, I'm almost there. We're almost there. I think we're gonna see it tomorrow. What else?
Squawk, give me a cracker.
Yeah, but maybe something a little bit more substance. Yes.
I'm gonna try to see the island first, something like that.
I want to be the first to see it. Yeah.
First mate died today.
Yeah, first mate died today. That's a pretty big deal. Captain?
I still don't like this cruise.
I still don't like this cruise. Very good. Jan?
I wonder who Long John Silver is talking to.
Oh, very good. I wonder who DeLong John's talking to.
What would Dr. Lucy say for chapter 10?
This is chapter 10, right? What would he say? Well, we learned in chapter 9 that more people knew about this treasure, right? So if more people know about it than I want them to, I might be a little nervous about as we're getting close, right? Like what do they really know? Yeah. Hey, stay quiet and don't move because if it's picked up by the video. Your questions are great though. Yeah.
Epic treachery.
Epic treachery? Who are you?
Silver.
You're Long John Silver?
Yeah.
Ah, so
With my parrot.
you've got your parrot. Like, we're starting to realize, we know now that if Long John Silver has bad news for Jim, he's probably not the guy we think he is, right? So why don't you take a stab at what he might be talking about, okay? Yes?
What would the parrot say for chapter 9?
Well, the
We
parrot,
weren't there.
oh, in chapter 9?
We weren't there. We were Arrow.
You were Arrow in chapter 9, and then you log back in as the parrot. And Arrow's probably, how can I get another drink, or, man, I can't see straight, or something like that. Melissa, who are you? A crew member. What are the crew members doing right now? What did we say they were doing on the deck?
Disagreeing with
So do we not have their names?
No, you'll have their names here soon enough, this next chapter here. The next crewman, you actually find his name in chapter 11.
Those crewmen, when you say, the person who's leading this is awesome because he's giving us all this food.
Yeah, he's giving us all this food. I love our little parties we have on the boat. Yeah?
I have a question.
Yeah.
If Long John Silver or whatever, if he was talking to the parrot, what if the parrot blurted out to everyone?
Well, the parrot just blurts out things that it's known. It's not really conscious. So a parrot may say something, could say, going to get treasure, going to get treasure. But I think Long John's smart enough not to say something that his parrot might blurt out. Yeah, all right. If you want, I know it's really boring, you don't really want to know, but if you wanted to read chapter 11 and 12, it will help you on Monday. And those of you who are crew members, the first one to log on is the crew member that's being talked to on in chapter 11. That can be you the rest of the way out.
Yeah, but
No, you're a crew. You're either or. It's the first person to read the chapter 11 and then log on with the correct name of that crew member gets to keep it. Did you hear that? Have a good day.